Now let's make output decisions for perfect competition. Like, since they are given a price to sell at, how are they going to determine how much to sell? Okay. So since the perfect competition firms are price takers, they do not need to worry about setting price. They just look at what the market is set at, and that's what they do. They only need to worry about producing the quantity that is going to give them the most profit. That's really what we're looking at. So each firm is going to have their different cost curves depending on their different inputs or efficiency that each firm has at different outputs. Maybe some firms have a more efficient machine, some firms have more efficient labor. So what we're having here are different costs per the firm. And because the costs are different, that's going to result in different quantities for each firm. So they need to figure out, well, we need to figure out, since we know the price of it, what's going to give us the most profit given the certain cost. Now remember, the more quantity you produce, the costs are going to be higher. So we can't just say like, oh, since the price is the same, let's just keep on producing. We do have that diminishing marginal productivity, which says that the marginal cost is going up as the quantity is going higher. So that is where we have to figure out, when do we stop producing, okay? So the maximum profit will occur at the quantity where the difference between the total revenue and the total cost is the largest. That's really what we're trying to look at. Where do we make the most profit? And it's really just the difference between the revenue and the cost. Let me show you what we're talking about here. We've looked at total cost before. What are you noticing about it? Is there a fixed cost? Yes, there is, because look, at zero quantity, we have a cost of 62, right? So before we even start producing, we have to pay the cost, so $62. Since we're producing nothing, our total revenue, how much money we're making, is zero. So our profit is going to be negative $62. All right, remember, profit, we're going to use the pi symbol for profit. All that is the total revenue minus the total cost. That's really what we're looking at. Now, what is the variable cost of producing 42 units? Oh, I'm sorry, it should be 40. As you can see here, because the total cost is 138 and the fixed cost is 62, we can calculate the variable cost, which is 6 and 7. So 76 is the variable cost there. All right. And as you can see, that's when we start to make a profit. Okay. We go from negative $6 to 22. So we go from our losses to earning a profit here, down here. So as you can see here, we should stop here at the 90 mark. All right. The most profit earned is here at this quantities. All right. So that is the output we should determine. We should stop somewhere between 70 and 80. That's going to give us the most profit there. What are you noticing about total revenue? All right, so as we produce an additional 10 units, what's happening to our total revenue? It's going up by 40 each time. All right, so that is going to be very important for the next part. So this is one way you can determine the output you should choose to do. You look at the price of the product, and then you're looking at the cost of producing that, and you just map out, if the quantity was this is my profit if we were to do that. And as they can see here, once they put all these numbers together, they have determined that 70 or 80 is going to give them the most profit. There is a graph of what this would look like. So total revenue is going to be in green. So total revenue started off at 0, and then it grew by 40 each time. So it would look something like this, where it does start off at 0. For the total cost, it starts off at 62 because of the fixed cost. And then it started to increase, right? Now we do have some variations in how this looks, but in general, what total cost would look like, it goes here and then it goes up. So it's got like a curve to it. If you were to look at all those numbers together, it would have a curve like this. Okay, so as you can see here, the difference between our total revenue and our total cost, this area right here, this is how much profit we're earning. If I were to draw out the profit curve, Well, it started off at negative 62, right? And then it grew to 0, right? Oh, sorry, it grew to 0 at this point here. And then it got to 90, which is the biggest difference there, right here. So it grew there, and then it got back down to 0 here, because that's where total revenue and total cost equal. So your profits would be equal to 0. Remember, this is your break-even point. So we do see 2 break-even points here. So right here, that would be the 70 or 80, somewhere in there, okay? That's where we generate the most profits. Okay, so this is what the total revenue, total cost, and the profit curve would look like. All right. As you can see, the profit does start off in the negative land, but it stays negative until we reach this point here, which is the first break-even point, somewhere between 30 and 40. And then we have the second break-even point here, which happens at 100. Okay. So that's what those look like. Now, there is another way we can determine the profit maximization point, and that's by using the marginal revenue and the marginal cost. We already looked at marginal cost, where we looked at the cost per additional unit sold. We can also look at the marginal revenue, which is looking at how much extra revenue you're getting from selling one more unit. The great thing about this one is that to find the profit maximizing point, you just need to know where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. All right, so that point shows us our profit maximization. So let me show you how we're going to do that. For the marginal revenue, you just look for the change in the revenue. As we can see here, it is increasing by 40 each time. Okay, so that is our marginal revenue the whole way down. For the marginal cost, we're going to do the same thing. You're looking at how the cost is changing for each unit. So we go from 62 to 90. So that is a marginal cost of 28. And then we'll go from 90 to 110, and so that's 20. We'll go from 110 to 126, that's 16. And then 12. And then we have 12 again. And then we have 15. And then we have 25. And then we have 40. And then we have 66 and 104. And again, we got 40 the whole way down here. And as you can see here, the profit maximization point happens right here. Okay, where it happened at that 70 to 80 mark, right? So 7 or 8. And if we were to look at the profit here, right, it's 320 minus 230, and that was our 90 for the profit. So again, profit maximization point, marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That shows us where we have the most amount of profits. Okay, so what I'll show you next is what this looks like on a graph, but it's very important, this right here, marginal revenue equals marginal cost. This is very important for all market structures. No matter which one we're going to look at later on in the year, profit maximization always happens at the marginal revenue equals the marginal cost point. Okay? And the next one I'll show you more about how the firm determines this. Okay?